Ancient Rome's fast food. What did they eat? Picture this. You're walking through the narrow, crowded streets of ancient Rome at midday. The sun beats down mercilessly on the cobblestones, and the air thrums with the cacophony of merchants hawking their wares, wheels grinding against stone, and thousands of voices creating an urban symphony that would make modern New York seem quiet by comparison. Your stomach growls audibly, but here's the shocking truth. If you were an ordinary Roman citizen, you probably couldn't cook a meal at home even if you wanted to. Welcome to the world's first fast food empire, where convenience culture was born not in 1950s America, but in the bustling streets of Rome over 2 millennia ago. Most Romans lived in cramped, multi-story apartment buildings called insulae, ancient Rome's answer to tenements. These structures were notorious fire hazards, packed so tightly that cooking indoors was not just impractical, it was often illegal. The wealthy might have elaborate kitchens in their sprawling villas, but for the average citizen, shopkeepers, laborers, freedmen, and slaves, home cooking was a luxury they simply couldn't afford, both literally and practically. This urban crisis created an unprecedented opportunity. Entrepreneurs seized upon the city's collective hunger, transforming Rome into history's first takeaway civilization. What emerged was a sophisticated network of street food vendors, taverns, and fast casual eateries that would make modern food delivery apps seem quaint by comparison. Enter the Thermopolium, the beating heart of Roman fast food culture. These weren't just simple food stalls. They were ingeniously designed establishments that combined the efficiency of a drive-through with the social atmosphere of a neighborhood cafe. Picture a marble counter embedded with large clay jars called dolia, each containing a different hot dish: lentil stew, spiced wine, roasted meats, or seasoned vegetables. The name itself tells the story: thermos, hot, and polein, to sell. These were the world's first hot food chains, scattered throughout every Roman neighborhood like Starbucks in a modern city. Archaeologists have uncovered over 150 thermopolia in Pompeii alone, a city with roughly 10,000 inhabitants. That's one fast food joint for every 65 people, a ratio that would make contemporary urban planners weep with envy. The most famous thermopolium, discovered in Pompeii in 2020, still contained traces of its final meals: duck bone fragments, pig, goat, fish, and even crushed snails, a delicacy that reveals just how sophisticated Roman palates were. Roman fast food wasn't the bland, processed fare we might expect. It was an explosion of flavors that would challenge even the most adventurous modern foodie. Libum, a cheesecake-like offering made with honey and bay leaves, was sold steaming hot from street carts. Mulsum, honeyed wine, flowed freely from tavern counters, often mixed with exotic spices from the farthest reaches of the empire. But here's where it gets truly fascinating. Romans had an obsession with a condiment that defined their cuisine more than olive oil or wine: garum, a fermented fish sauce made from the entrails of tuna, mackerel, and other fish, left to rot in the sun for months until it became a pungent, umami-rich liquid gold. This wasn't a niche ingredient. It was the ketchup of ancient Rome, splashed on everything from bread to meat to vegetables. Street vendors sold garum in different grades. The finest, garum sociorum, was made from tuna blood and commanded premium prices, while cheaper versions sustained the working classes. The smell was reportedly so intense that production was banned within city limits, pushing garum factories to coastal areas where the Mediterranean breeze could carry away the aromatic assault. Roman fast food culture created something unprecedented in ancient history: a genuinely democratic dining experience. In Thermopolia, senators might find themselves elbow to elbow with slaves, gladiators shared tables with merchants, and social hierarchies temporarily dissolved over shared bowls of poles, a hearty porridge made from emmer wheat, the ancient ancestor of modern risotto. This wasn't just about food, it was about social revolution. For the first time in human history, people from vastly different social strata were literally breaking bread together on a daily basis. The thermopolium became Rome's great equalizer, a space where the only currency that mattered was hunger. Women, often excluded from formal dining in wealthy households, found freedom in these establishments. They could eat alone, conduct business, or socialize without the rigid protocols that governed upper-class Roman society. Archaeological evidence shows that many thermopolia were owned and operated by women, making them pioneers in an industry that would eventually span the globe. Just as Roman fast food culture reached its zenith, a dark undercurrent was growing. The very convenience that made the system so successful was also creating an unprecedented public health crisis. Without modern refrigeration or food safety standards, these establishments became breeding grounds for disease. Ancient medical texts describe recurring outbreaks of food poisoning that swept through Rome's densely packed neighborhoods. The situation became so dire that Emperor Claudius issued edicts attempting to regulate food vendors, while later emperors considered banning street food entirely. The irony was stark. The innovation that fed an empire was also slowly poisoning it. What exactly sustained the Roman masses? The staples were surprisingly sophisticated. Panis quadratus, a scored circular bread that could be easily broken into portions, was the foundation of most meals. Street vendors would layer it with olive tapenade, cheese, or thin slices of meat to create the world's first sandwiches. Condidum, a spiced wine cocktail mixed with honey, pepper, and exotic imported spices, was the energy drink of its era. Roman fast food wasn't just about sustenance, it was about delivering quick energy to fuel a civilization that never slept. Seasonal specialties rotated through the thermopolia like modern menu updates. Fresh oysters shipped live from Britain, dates stuffed with nuts from North Africa, and mysterious delicacies like dormice, yes, actual rodents, considered the ultimate luxury fast food. Roman fast food technology was remarkably advanced. Thermopolia featured running water systems, charcoal heating that maintained consistent temperatures, and even primitive ventilation systems to manage smoke and odors. Some establishments had separate areas for different social classes, while others pioneered the concept of communal dining spaces that would later inspire medieval taverns and modern food courts. The logistics were equally impressive. Rome developed supply chains that stretched across the Mediterranean, bringing garum from Spain, wine from Gaul, and spices from Asia. This wasn't just local street food. It was the world's first international cuisine, available fast and cheap to anyone with a few copper coins. As Rome's political power waned, so did its fast food culture. The barbarian invasions disrupted supply chains, urban populations declined, and the sophisticated infrastructure that supported thermopolia crumbled. The Dark Ages weren't just dark politically. They were literally a culinary dark age, as European food culture retreated into subsistence farming and monastery kitchens. Yet the ghost of Roman fast food culture lived on. Medieval taverns, Renaissance ostery, and eventually modern restaurants all carry DNA from those ancient thermopolia. The idea that food could be fast, convenient, and social, that eating could be democratic rather than hierarchical, survived the fall of Rome itself. Today, as we debate the merits of fast food culture, argue about food deserts, and grapple with the social implications of convenience dining, we're essentially rehashing arguments that began in Roman thermopolia 2,000 years ago. The Romans proved that fast food could nourish not just bodies but communities, creating spaces where social barriers dissolved and cultures mixed. They also demonstrated the dangers. When convenience becomes more important than quality, when profit trumps public health, when the very systems designed to feed us might ultimately harm us. The next time you grab a quick lunch from a food truck or meet friends at a casual restaurant, remember, you're participating in a tradition that stretches back to the cobblestone streets of ancient Rome. Those Roman fast food pioneers didn't just fill stomachs, they created a template for urban living that still shapes our cities, our social interactions, and our relationship with food itself. The empire may have fallen, but its greatest innovation, the idea that good food should be fast, accessible, and social, conquered the world more thoroughly than any legion ever could.